Last time on Kakumei, Beerus traveled back to his home planet to honor his father, where he also encountered Champa. The boys completed the first part of their training and now move forward to try containing God Key. Then there's Vegeta and King Sadala, who traded blows before coming to an understanding after the latter revealed why he hates his Super Saiyan form. But today, we focus on not any of them, but perhaps the first threat in the upcoming Interuniversal War. This is part 15 of an ongoing series and was created by reenko, poissonlabo, and darkows. Support them and catch up fully using the links below. In an unfamiliar place, over and over again, a strange-looking man shouts, "Venerable Air!" appearing to try to wake someone from their sleep. As whoever he's talking to opens his eyes, the person is elated to see that he's finally awake. But who are these two? The man continues to try to explain that he doesn't know what happened. He can't remember anything. He has a huge gap in his memory. Maybe he knows something about it. But the so-called Venerable Air only shakes his head. Revealing a bit more of the room, the talkative little guy tells how when he woke up himself, a few minutes ago, this door was locked. Bewitched even, as it couldn't be opened no matter what. Luckily, it was just a primal spell, like it was made to only stop them from going out without slobbering too much. Or rather, still without all their cognitive faculties from their long sleep. Of course, the man proclaims, a brilliant wizard like himself would have saved the both of them from any situation they would have faced. As Big and Quiet at last says his first words, "Salaga, where is he?" Answering the question with an instruction, the wizard runs towards the door requesting his ally follow. Although the light to the outside world is blinding, he ushers his follower, "After you," welcoming us all to Universe 14, Planet Bread. The duo emerge from what appears to be a piece of futuristic technology on an otherwise decimated world. Taking it all in for the second time, the wizard assures that he knows what the Venerable Air is feeling. He too is taken by surprise a few moments ago upon laying eyes on their surroundings. When another figure makes his way onto the scene, the aforementioned Salaga. The Air simply looks over to him and questions what the deal is with his outfit, as it's all tattered and battle-worn. The demon-looking warrior details how it was impossible for them to wake their heir up, so he took the initiative himself to venture through the outside world. That's what he found himself facing, a horde of creatures made of pure energy. He had to adapt to the situation, knowing each of their attacks were sapping away his vitality. He knew he had to be patient. Because of this, he managed to copy their vitality absorption ability and was able to overcome them. The fight was hard, but not without experience gained. And the mission to protect him, the Venerable Air, has been successful. Casting what is presumably a healing spell on the warrior, the wizard shouts Salaga is impressive as always, as the other man in the company takes in his story. Moving the conversation, Salaga requests to address their heir on an important matter. The thing is, these bewitchments, these energy creatures, are strangely familiar to those of Lord Dramel, the god of destruction of Universe 14. While greatly alarming, why would Lord Dramel want to lock the three of them up? This is absurd! But to echo these worries, the Air states that this is indeed what he himself has also concluded. Any telepathic contact with him or Zeres, the Destroyer's angel, seems to be ineffective. He then suggests they all go directly to his planet to find out, finally naming the wizard as Dula, and demanding he summon the mothership. Who enthusiastically gets to it, smiling for him to consider it done. Causing a giant ship to emerge from beneath the smog of the planet's surface. He shouts that it feels like it's been ages since he's got to use his powers. Before the three of them embark, Salaga showcases another unique ability. It's just as he thought and feared. The Air's heartbeat is irregular, and his blood pressure is unstable. A What could this mean? He can't help but address him yet again, begging to be excused, but as their eyes meet, Salaga utters whatever may have happened. He knows the heir will make the right decisions. Confidently comments that he doesn't merely pretend to have all the answers. Meanwhile, back home. Training Pan, Piccolo tries to add in a little motivation for the young fighter. He taunts that if she only knew what her father had to go through to have the privilege of training with him. But, you know, age before maturity. Nearly tossing her into the sky, the Namekian truly wants her to show that she is worthy. And doing so within reason. She actually manages to land a hit, albeit even if no more than a bop on the nose. Nearby, Sao and Polina of Universe 6. Although since they don't share the same sentiment for Pan as Piccolo, they begin to grow frustrated in using their very limited time for a seemingly useless activity like this. In fact, Polina begins to remark that if he had expected this when he initially decided to come here. Close beaming himself. Our favorite Namekian comments that he thinks, at least in terms of pure physical training, the four of them have come a long way. But rest is also important, so we'd rather not rush things and use this time properly. Sao now doesn't mean to sound derogatory, but is that such a good idea? They might not want to relax with what's ahead of them. This only makes the former bark out with laughter. He warns the rookie not to think they're going to merely be sipping a bowl of fresh water. He still needs to forge his mind and sharpen his knowledge. But knowledge? What does he mean by that? Piccolo's smirk persists. He admits that the two of them have taught him a lot about their race, but the history of their people in this universe is just as exciting. He wants to start by revealing he hasn't told the whole truth. He is not the only Namekian on this planet. Sao now responds that his intuition has been telling him this all along. Looking towards the sky, the other is at the highest point of this planet. Beyond the skies. In a sanctuary inaccessible by most common means, lives the god of Earth. Who is the person Piccolo respects most in this world? Returning to Universe 14 on planet Dromel. Making their way onto the destroyer's planet. Dula doesn't waste much time before bellowing out for either Dromel or Zeres. But with no response, Salaga offers to take a quick tour of the planet to see if he spots anything. An offer the venerable heir quickly picks up. Shooting into the air, our still unnamed focal character begins to form a goo-like key. Firing it across the planet. It seems to startle Salaga. As the technique concludes, he shouts out to the air that he didn't even know he was capable of doing that, though he does imagine that given his position as heir, he may wish to remain discreet about all of his abilities. Who, without wasting words, only says that there is no life at all on this planet. Shocked, his opposite asks for how long? How long have the god and angel been gone? And it seems like for months now. Dula comes streaming down from the air commenting how unbelievable that ability is. Though Salaga takes exception to his relaxed demeanor around the ever-important venerable heir, But what could he even be heir to? Nevertheless, Said Air waves his arm into the distance. Down there is a kind of psychic beacon that has been deposited. Maybe that will yield some answers. Spotting it, Dula figures they shouldn't waste any time and go right away. However, the masked warrior demands to go alone, despite the protest from his companions. He reaffirms that this is not a negotiable topic, ending the conversation. The others resolve to stand guard, just in case. Seemingly with little guesswork, the air opens a portal of some kind at the so-called psychic beacon. Entering, he's met with a type of shrine. When? Patiently waiting for their superior to return. Slugga very specifically points out that the pillars of the altar have come together to open a kind of magic door. As the pair gaze at it from afar, Dula wonders aloud if he managed to get in. When it vanishes! He knew it! Dula knew it was a trap! They should have never let him go alone! They must go now! They must hasten to find the venerable heir! But Slugga isn't so sure. He can still feel his presence, but it's as if he's in a different dimension now. Sitting down, he wants to focus on his presence. As long as he can still feel him, everything should be okay. But if and when he gives the slightest sign, Dula must destroy the surrounding area without warning. Snickering at this, the wizard is happy to take on such a destructive mission. As a figure moves forth from the shadows. The air readies himself for battle. When a single familiar word is said twice. Kai Kai. Zhao, the Kaioshin of Universe 14. He states that he's been waiting here for the heir for more than 6 months now. He instructs the interloper to follow. Walking and talking, the Kaio assumes that he must be pretty lost on everything that's going on. He would like to apologize for that, though everything up until now has gone the way they thought it would. But they, or rather we, who else is in on this? What's going on? A question the Supreme Kai would rather show the answer to than try to explain. Taking him to a sacred-looking room, he explains that the Venerable Heir is the only one who can come here. This is the hall of the Altar of Angels, where the scepter of the angel of this universe resides when the angel in question is not using it. He prompts the heir to take it, grabbing it. It projects an image of Dremel, but isn't he frozen in time currently? The image begins to speak and we finally get a name for this venerable heir, Amaron. The destroyer then mentions how we may have guessed. Neither he or Xeres is here anymore, and Amaron himself has what seems to be amnesia, so he'll refresh his memory. This universe has been completely annihilated in the blink of an eye by the Omni King. This happened while Amaron was proving day by day his ability to become who he claims he would like to be. Not long ago, the universe was restored by a wish-fulfilling dragon from another universe. Afterwards, he himself was approached by a woman who seemed to be the mother of all angels, as well as the companion to the Grand Priest. This hierarchical and childish madness of these so-called rulers of all had to cease. They decided to act and go first to the Grand Priest himself, and here they are at the moment. He needs to mention that before Amaron's amnesia, when he was first born on planet Bread looking for his cherished relics, this will explain everything. Dremel gives him back his memory. We can then see on planet Bread, the destroyer and angel approached Amaron, who questioned if it was finally time, already seeming to know the both of them. The god remarks that it indeed is, but he did not come here to pick him up. A response that both startled and confused the heir. He explained that a student that despite all of his efforts, he was not yet ready. He told Amaron that he was too unpredictable at the moment, so he will stay here with his 2 clowns. Although Amaron tried to reason with Dremel that with all due respect, he knew perfectly well that he would go against his decision and not let him go without him under any circumstance. The god scolded that this wasn't a decision merely made on the spot and motioned for Xeres, who created the futuristic dwelling we first found our gang in. Although the student tried to fight back, before he knew it, Amaron was hurling towards that mysterious building. That's when he removed his memories, promising he would thank him later. Now that we can safely guess what exactly Amaron is heir to, the Destroyer in training comes to terms with all that's been presented to him. Dremel continues. Now that his disciple remembers, if he is hearing this message, it's because they were somehow stopped by the Grand Priest. Xeres sent his scepter to this location just beforehand. As the Kaioshin begins to address him, Amaron stomps out of the room, perhaps predicting what's about to be said. The god explains that after all of this, he himself won't be able to hold his title. For the time being, at the very least, he will ask Amaron only one thing. Finish what he has to do. He will now have the time and status to do it. Because from now on, and by this delegation, he officially becomes the god of destruction of Universe 14. With the introduction of this new god, what impact will he have on the upcoming war? Naturally, he'll want to get revenge for his people. But just how powerful could he possibly be?